Well, we now find ourselves at the Oyster Box Hotel, a hotel steeped in history and associated with many great horses and many great people. Of course, it's been going since the early 50s, and everybody who's been in racing tends to come to the Oyster Box at some time. So, what is this bronze horse in front of me and this picture of Mill Reef behind me? Of course, a winner of the Investec Derby and trained by Ian Balding all those years back. Well, the reason we've come here is to try and conjure up some sort of magic, which is the theme for this year's Vodacom Durban July, and find out who will win this year's race. But the one thing we haven't done is spoken to people that are objective. Michael AZZIE last year had a horse called AZZIE in the Vodacom Durban July. He has no runner this year, and he's very objective. And Matthew de Kock, of course, unfortunately, Team de Kock is not represented this year, but he's also got a very interesting opinion with regard to the 3-year-olds. So let's go and join Michael AZZIE and Matthew de Kock for their views on the 2017 renewal of the Vodacom Durban July.
Andrew, if I had to stick my neck out, I'd probably go for AZZIE. Strict purely on the fact that he runs second in the Guineas up here, second in the Classic, and then again he won the Derby. But not clear-cut, because I would have to respect Edict of Nantes. Edict of Nantes won the Cape Derby, and then he came and he won the Daily News as well in great fashion. And Brett Crawford is firing. And for me, Brett Crawford at the moment is the trainer that everyone has to sit up and pay attention to. He's a great trainer, and he's just doing everything right at the moment. So I have utmost respect for Brett, as well as Sean Terry. You know, it'd be silly to just write off Sean Terry. He's 17 million or 18 million clear of the second trainer on the trainers' log. So absolutely, you know, you can't laugh at that. But it makes me throw my hands up in the air and wonder, because if I look at what last year, what the 3-year-old had to carry in the July, because he won the Triple Crown. And look what he beat that year. And this year, you have a horse that runs second in the first leg, second in the third leg, and mind you, close seconds, and then wins the third leg quite easily, considering how AZZIE fell over the line in the third leg. And you look at the difference in weights that he carries this year in the July and the weight that AZZIE had to carry last year. Makes me wonder, doesn't it make you wonder? And then you look what Edict of Nantes is carrying after winning the Cape Derby and the Daily News. The handicappers need to get their story straight, man.
Yeah, it's a tough field. There's no standouts, which makes it even harder. But I have a feeling that the conglomerate can do it again. I thought his last run was very good, and he's a proven horse in the race, so I'm sure he'll go close.
What do you make of the weight structure as far as the 3-year-olds are concerned? Because I remember Joey Soma came to me a few years ago and he said, this horse grazing is absolutely slung in the Vodacom Durban July. When you consider that a horse like AZZIE carried 58 last year, and now you've got Edict of Nantes at 54 and Al-Sahim at 53.5 after having run in exactly the same races.
Yeah, I think it was just a case of last year they might have just been a little overrated, whereas this year they're a bit more realistic. Yeah, they're improving sorts. It'll be interesting because not too many 3-year-olds have strayed from their own age group this time of the year. I think one of them is Crowd Pleaser, and he's been running right there with the older horses. So it'll be very interesting. I think they at their right weights. I don't think they underweighted or overweighted. So I think it'll be an interesting race.
Just one final question. I thought that horse of Glenn Cotson's Gold Standard, who ran in the Sun Met, was a good representative of the 3-year-old crop. Maybe not as good as Edict of Nantes, but he showed that they definitely are a pretty decent crop.
Yeah, they are. I mean, if we had a horse like Heavenly Blue in the race off the same weight as Al-Sahim, we'd be fairly bullish, you know, that he was going to go close. So they are a good crop of 3-year-olds. Like I said, I just think last year's crop was overrated, and this year they're probably on par.
Look, they always say, you know, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Well, this is a war, so come with a proper army, and that's what I've done this year. I've come with tough horses. They're well weighted, we've planned it, we haven't run them in certain races knowing that the penalties are there. Sadly, the Gold Challenge has become a nowhere race because you just don't want to expose a horse prior to the July. You get all the penalties. I learned that lesson with Dancer's daughter. She won the Gold Challenge, got all the penalties into the July. And I learned that lesson. So sadly, you've got to hide away a little bit, and the best way is to just keep them fit at home. So a lot of my horses have had one start, maybe two starts here in the Durban season. Every start means a penalty. So you just got to plan it correctly.
I'll be so bold and audacious to suggest that you probably wouldn't want to stick your neck out and say which one you think will win. Looking at the Sunday morning paper the day after, I'm sure you'll have a very clear idea as to whether they ran their best races, but where do you think that you're going to have money chances?
Look, the way I see this race, and it'd be very interesting. Look, we're always learning in this industry, and I'd be very surprised if a 3-year-old didn't win this race. The way they've been handicapped, if anything's going to beat them, I think it'll be one of my older horses, purely because of the weights. Over 2-2, it counts. It counts a lot, especially in a hard run race. So for me, either one of the 3-year-olds will win this race or one of my older horses, purely because of the weight structure. And a horse like Elusive Silver, Black Arthur, 50. To give you an idea, Black Arthur last year carried 55. This year he's carrying a kilo less. So you've got to look at that. And a horse like Elusive Silver, 53, is off that weight, he's extremely competitive. So as I said, 3-year-olds are one of mine. That's how I see it.
And your preparations, have they gone exactly according to plan?
Look, we all think we're geniuses going into the race, and we think we know what the horses want. But at the end of the day, come Saturday, it's all that counts.